Hey everyone, welcome to Wildlife Inspired. I'm your host, Scott Keys. Another wildlife gimbal review, this time the Benro GH5C Mini, right after this. So in my quest to be the greatest wildlife gimbal head reviewer on YouTube, I've got another one for you. This is a newer product from Benro, very similar to another product they have. I'll show you some comparisons up here on the screen. They've got a model called the GH5C, which I've already reviewed, so you can check out the video for that if you're curious. I'm not going to do a full review on that again because I've already done it. This one is the GH5C Mini. Now, cosmetically, you can see on the screen there are some cosmetic differences, very similar in theme. So both of these are carbon fiber construction, with the main difference being, and if you look back here, you'll see this width is different. It's just a narrower profile. In terms of the load capacity, both had the same load capacity, 66 pounds. Both of them on paper showed the same weight, 2.4 pounds. Now, I will tell you, if you go into Benro's site, it does list this also at 2.2 pounds. So it lists it in two different ways. And I think the difference is this little plate that they include, and this comes with the package, weighs 2 ounces. So my guess is without the plate, it's 2.2 pounds. So maybe the Mini is just a fraction lighter than the GH5C, which makes sense. Other differences between the two, the knobs are different colors. The trim is a different color. So here it's silver. On the other one, it was blue. Honestly, I did not love the blue trim on the other one. I know it's just aesthetics, but I did not love that. And other than that, it really just comes down to this narrow base. So what do I like about this one right off the bat? It felt pretty good. I really like the knobs. I'll get into this a little bit more because these knobs have a very specific feature that I want to highlight. The knobs up on front for the ARCA plate and ARCA clamps here felt really good, so I didn't have any problem with the knob, the structural setup. You will notice the narrower profile. I'll tilt this lens up a little bit. It's going to put it a little off center. So if you look at the center of gravity here, you'll notice that this plate is just a little bit off. Not a big deal. When we talk about things being centered for gimbals, what we really care about is it centered this way, so forward and back? Did we find the center of gravity? And then up and down, did we find the center of gravity? And with this lens, you could see it's right there. So it's got the center of gravity, and unlike a few gimbals I've reviewed, it's got clearance. So even in the right position, I've got good clearance. There are a few gimbals I've reviewed, especially with the shorter profile, where this could actually touch. All right, so far so good. We like the color scheme, we like the construction, it feels really good. Is there anything of the downside? Well, the most important part of a gimbal to me is always just how functional it is, how smooth is it? Do I get good resistance control? In the horizontal panning, I'm gonna do my little spin test. So I try to push these about the same every time. Not a full turn, so you can see that it's got just some resistance. There's nothing on this tension knob. I'm gonna compare that to a quick clip of the Pro Media Gear Katana, the big boy. But their Katana Junior, very similar, very, very smooth. And then I'm going to also compare this to Benro's folding model, which is a little travel one that they do. I felt that the horizontal panning on the travel model was actually better than this one because I've recently reviewed the other one. It's fresh in my mind. And the vertical panning was about the same. And by about the same, I mean both had a little bit more resistance than I was completely comfortable with. It's not bad. It didn't affect me in the field. I'm still able to track horizontally and vertically without any issue, but it will feel a little bit stiff, and it doesn't give you almost any control or fine control over resistance. So essentially, you're either locked or you are unlocked. And when you are unlocked, there is built-in resistance. Now, could this loosen up over time? My guess is yes, a little bit. Typically inside here, you've got a fitted piece with grease on there, and eventually those pieces may start to just loosen up, and I don't have these long enough to do that. I do want to make a caveat, a couple things before I get too far into the video. I am not sponsored by Benro in any way, shape, or form. I've worked with them a couple times in the past. I've had some communication with them. They never gifted me anything, and I always do let you know if anything is gifted to me. The Robust tripod that this on was gifted to me. I'll put a link to this Robust tripod down because I really actually do like Robust products. So, Robust given to me, Benro not given to me. How did I get this? B&H allows me to do these reviews. They send me this equipment on loan. I use it for 30 days and I send it back. So thank you, B&H, for getting my hands onto this new product from Benro. So I talked a little bit about this horizontal and vertical panning. Good, not great. Let's talk about these lockouts. One of the things that this is intentionally designed to do is have quick lockout, quarter turn lockout. And it is a true quarter turn lockout. So I'm gonna take all the resistance off of this. Okay, so I've got it all the way loosened. I'm gonna put my thumb up here at 12 o'clock and I'm gonna turn until it locks. And you can see my thumb is just maybe a hair over a quarter turn, but not much. So I'm gonna call this a quarter turn lockout. Pretty close to a quarter turn lockout. More to come on that, so stay tuned. On the bottom, very similar, no tension here, not even a quarter turn for that. I mean, it locked out immediately, so there's no tension, and then it locks out. It did take me a little bit, now watch this, it did take me a little bit, you can see I'm pushing on that. It did take me a little bit of effort to really ratchet that down and lock it down. So it didn't lock out super, super firmly without putting a lot of tension on it. So it hit that point quick, but it took me a little bit of extra force to do that. Keep that in mind. If you don't have a lot of grip strength or you don't have a lot of hand strength, those little things can be important when you're making a decision. And there's plenty of things in this price point. We're looking at a $500 gimbal. There are tons of gimbal in the $400 to $600 price range. I did a whole review on it, or a whole video on 5 of them that I actually, and a couple of them I like. And I'll be very honest with you, a couple of them I might like even better than this. And I'll tell you why. Now, let's get into the other thing about this that I really had a hard time with, and I noticed it when I was looking through the lens the first couple times. I do these lockout tests, and I tested for something called lens creep. So I'm gonna try to put this right at the camera there. All right. Now, I'm gonna loosen this up, and when I was looking through the viewfinder and I tightened it, I lock on a subject and I tighten it, and I see how much this lens moves. And at first I thought I was bumping it or moving the whole gimbal. So I'm gonna lock this part out. So there's no way to move it that way. And I'm gonna try as hard as I can to only move this dial without putting any pressure anywhere else. I want you to watch this lens hood. Okay, and look very carefully, and this is what we would call lens creep. Look very carefully. Okay, that is not me hitting it. That's not me pushing it, I promise you. And I'm gonna show you a close-up where you can actually see this better. Watch the lens. Again, that is not me putting any pressure on it. At first, I thought it was me. I thought it was human error. Now, I'm gonna swing this around to the back. I'm gonna do a close-up with my iPhone here, just so you can see the details. And you're gonna see this little gap here. There's actually a bigger gap at the top than the bottom. I always put this caveat out there. This could be the copy that I got. I can't test 100 of them for quality control. My guess is this could be the design itself. Now watch, as I tighten this, I want you to watch that gap. Notice it decrease, and you can actually see the lens tilt at a little bit of an angle. Now, does this matter? I'm gonna do it one more time just so you can see it again. And you can see I'm only putting pressure right there. Does that matter? If you're not locking it out, no. If you're only tracking moving subjects, birds in flight, songbirds that aren't perched, no problem at all. If you're shooting owls, where you're focused on a nest cavity, or you're focused on just a spot area, if you did landscapes, it would be a bigger deal too. Like, let's say you've got that positioned exactly where you want it, and then you turn it, and all of a sudden the lens moves a little bit, and now you've got to reposition the whole thing. It can be an inconvenience. Is it a deal breaker? For me, probably not. If the action was really smooth and that was the only negative thing about it and the price point was right, I'd be fine with it, honestly, because I don't do a ton of work that requires precise, accurate lockout. But with this one, at least with my copy, I will tell you, I got more creep than I would expect for a gimbal at this price point. So actually, probably the biggest downside of this was that lens creep. So for me, it didn't really justify the extra money to get something that was really just a cosmetic upgrade for me. I think the GH5C probably performs maybe a little bit better than this, at least as good. It's $64 less. It seemed to make more sense to me. So I will still recommend the GH5C. Just a quick note on that, if you don't watch my other review, the reviews on B&H are not great on that, but it's due to an old issue that they have fixed. So I think if this were reviewed today and you took out the old reviews of that problem that they had with some threads underneath, if you take those reviews out, it actually rates very, very well, close to a 5, like a 4.5 or a 5. So it's a much better product than the old reviews indicate. So the GH5C, I do recommend. The GH5Cmini, if you own it, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not going to tell you like you got ripped off. However, I think personally, it wouldn't be the one I would select at this $500 price point. There's a few other options out there. So if you're curious in this price range, watch my other video, $400 to $600 gimbals. With this one, I like it. I don't love it. And that's my honest feedback. Now, thanks for watching this video. Hopefully you've got some comments for me. Maybe you've used this or you were curious about it. Hopefully I answered some questions for you. I do love your comments down below. I always appreciate your support. Do you want to see more gimbal reviews? I'm happy to keep doing it, but I've got a couple other products that I'm going to review in the near future, so look forward to that. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and set notifications so when I do these reviews, you'll know about them first. Thanks again for your support of the channel, and as always, I hope we can continue to find inspiration in wildlife together.